Hello, it's Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest video. Today I'm going to be working inside my altered book, and I thought I'd start off by talking to you about the cover that I'm working on. As I mentioned, I think in my first and second video from this, like the haul and this, I'm going to be doing some slow stitching. But for now, I'm just adding all of my base layers down of the different pieces of fabric. So I've got them in all different shapes and sizes. I've got some here that are just still pinned on for now, and I'm just sewing a couple on each evening, just using a simple running stitch. And then I want to start adding some of my slow stitching details on top of the panels that I know will be visible, and also add some of the buttons and lace. And I wanted to get a feel for kind of what was going to be visible, what was going to be on the spine. So I've had a go at doing a practice cover for my other practice altered book. And so this is what I'm going to be going for. So one of the kind of simple removable slip-in covers. And I've just used the one piece of fabric for this. And it's a lovely old kind of map style fabric. So that's what I'm going to be going for. And the dimensions that I've worked on are, I measured all the way around the outside of the book. So I had the tape measure here and wrapped it around, and that was then gave me the 12, I think on this one was more as 13 inches width and 8, so but for my other one it's 12 inches around, and then I've added 8 inches on to give me 20, which will be for the side flaps. And then you need to measure the height of your book and allow about 2 inches either at the top and the bottom, which is what I've got here, that's going to be folded over so that you don't have those raw edges. And so in my wisdom, after I practiced with that and got the dimensions that I wanted, the height on this fabric is going to be absolutely fine for my book. I'm going to have more than enough space there. So I want to make sure that these panels, I'm probably going to extend them a little bit further at the top and the bottom to make sure that all of that goes around the book. However, I am going to be a bit short on the sides because that measuring all the way around the outside I talked about, it's basically so that you've got this down and you should then still have over 4 inches either side. And I'm probably not quite going to have that. So I have two choices. One is to sew some fabric right on the ends of here, which I don't think I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to go for slightly smaller kind of inside flaps. And I think that should be fine because that's quite a lot there. But so that's what I'm working on. I just kind of wanted to let you know so that if you're thinking of doing the same kind of cover as me, you've got the dimensions that I'm working on. So that's, again, it's the 8 inches to either side when you've measured all the way around the book, and 2 inches on the height. So I'm really pleased that I've at least got an idea of what I want to do. And once I've got all of the kind of fabric pieces down and the slow stitching done, I'll do a demonstration on how I made this cover as well. So that's where I'm at with that. And before I start working in my altered book, I decided that the theme I want to go for is very much going to be nature inspired in here. And I did a little shop from, I'll leave Bronwyns details down below, but all of the things she sells on her Etsy shop actually go towards her hedgehog rescue work, which I just absolutely love. So I bought this little sort of pack of mushrooms and different pieces of ephemera from her, which I'm just so excited. I think they'll be perfect for using inside this altered book. All of these different stamps and images I think will just be lovely. So I've got those ready to go. And one of you also mentioned this book, which I've seen so many times other people using, and I had resisted, but that was the kind of final deciding factor for me. So this is the Botanist's Sticker Anthology, and I got it from Amazon, and it is a whole book just full of gorgeous stickers. And I know that this is just going to be so handy for using inside my altered book. And I love that it goes across quite a few different seasons as well, and kind of some vintage, some a bit brighter. So I know there's going to be loads there that I can use. So I'm rather nervously going to start inside this altered book today. I haven't even really decided what I want to do. The only thing I've decided is I definitely want to leave these pages as they are, because with the cover I'm using there will be a flap there. I will probably come back and add some extra decoration, but I kind of don't want the pressure of it being those opening ones for now. So I'm going to start on these pages, and I thought it'd be quite nice to set myself some intentions for this kind of altered book journal. And I think I'm going to do something hopefully really quite simple and add down some base layers and maybe some collage too. When I was looking through my stash of papers, I found this beautiful, it's thicker than tissue paper, and it's got like a shiny film almost on the backing of it. But I think that would make a really nice background for this. And as I mentioned, for some reason I'm a bit nervous about working in this journal, so I want to start off with something simple, and I'm hoping that will ease me in, because I've got kind of ambitions to add lots of tuck pockets, tags and art journaling in here. But I think the key, because I know I've been procrastinating already, is to just get started with something simple and that I feel confident with. So I'm going to start off by gluing this across the whole 2 pages, and I'm using Pritt Stick for this, so any sort of glue stick would be fine. And I think I mentioned in one of the other videos I've bought quite a few printables as well, so things with ready-made pockets and tags, but I know I'll also want to add extra decoration on top of those. But anything really that makes it simple, and because we've taken out so many of the pages, we know we've got a fair bit of space here hopefully to play with as well. So I'm going to add probably lots of different things to this as I work through the journal, and then I'll see how thick it starts to get and then make decisions on kind of whether I need to pare back on some of the other pockets and things that for now I know I want to add. So I'm just going to place this, press it down firmly onto that right hand page, and then fold this over to try and make sure I get it as flat as possible. I was so pleased to see how many of you are going to be joining in. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and so I'm really hoping I don't make too many mistakes as we go through, but that hopefully we can share anything we learn as well as we go. So now that I've got that glued on there, I'm just going to trim it all down to size. Okay, so I've got that on there, and I love already it's starting to take on a little life of its own. I really want this to be something that I treasure and also then just hopefully learn lots from as well, because I'd like to make lots of these over the years. So I'm happy for this to be sort of my experimental book, but I really want it to be something I love as well. I want somewhere to be able to write my intentions for this journal, and I want to do that on this page, I think. So I'm going to create a writing spot, And this is some coffee dyed paper, and as you can see, this one would have been the bottom of my pile in the oven when I put the stack of papers in, because it's got the actual grid lines from the rack in the oven. So I'm going to just tear some out, some off of here to create that writing spot. Where I've torn the paper, I've got some slightly whiter edges, so I'm going to use my Distress ink in Vintage Photo and just rub that along the edges to bring that kind of distressed look back to it. I found it so interesting that I'm really comfortable working in my junk journal, and I guess because this was already a book and I've changed it, I feel I kind of almost have a duty to it, which isn't a bad thing because I know it's something I'm going to treasure, but I definitely think that made me more nervous about getting started, which is silly because we've all got to learn. And you know, it was sat in a charity shop, somebody'd given it away, so I shouldn't feel so concerned about it. So I'm pleased to just be getting on with it today, because I think that's going to help enormously once these first pages are down. And I'd say if you feel like that with any type of journaling, as I know lots of people do, those first blank pages in a new journal that you've bought, possibly spent quite a lot of money on, that start with something simple that you feel happy and confident with. Doesn't have to be something you spend ages on, just so that you know, hopefully when you open those first pages, you're not going to feel it's something that you're too disappointed with, I hope. And the other answer is to not start on the first pages and come back to them when you're confident, feeling more confident. But I do like to see progression through a journal, so it tells its own story. If the pages towards the end are something you prefer, then it still is that little progression, and I quite like that being in date order. So I think I'm going to have a little look through these that I bought from Bronwyns Shop. I'll leave Bronwyns' Etsy shop and Instagram down below. I followed her for years, and this is the first time I've actually bought something from her shop. I don't know why, but if you follow her Instagram stories, she just shares the most adorable videos of the different hedgehogs that she rescues, and the tiny weight that some of them are when they first come to her, and she then shares when she's weighing them and seeing them grow and then look healthy, and when they're released back into the wild again, when they're fit and healthy. And I just love hedgehogs anyway. We get some come into our garden, so to be able to buy this lovely ephemera and know it's going towards supporting those little hedgehogs was just perfect. Okay, so I just wanted to add a few extra little decorations around here, layering over the top of the coffee dyed paper. Still, one of my list of jobs to do is the pages that I tore out of here to coffee dye. I haven't had a chance yet, but hopefully very soon. I'm going to use that little sticker in there. So this can be where I write my intentions for the journal. Before I move on to adding my intentions here, I want to add just a little bit more decoration onto the other side. So I'm going to use this stencil. It's a really old one from Folk Art. I think I got it from Hobbycraft many years ago. And I'm going to use some texture paste, or this one's Pebeo Studio Acrylics Modelling Paste High Density. So this is kind of my start of adding something a little bit more mixed media-y to this journal. And I just want to pick up a few of the different leaves. So I'm going to get some of my texture paste on this spatula. I love texture paste. I've used it in lots of my journals. I kind of go through, I think, fads with it where I'll use it lots and then not very much for a while again. So I don't want to do the whole stencil, because I love that pattern paper behind it. I just thought it'd be nice to have, if I use something like a backing like this, I like to make sure that I've also changed it quite a lot in some way as well. So I've got that on there, and I think I might add a little bit more down in this corner here as well. And I haven't decided yet whether I want to add any colour to the top of these or just leave them as they are. I actually quite like the look of white texture paste. You can add colour over the top once it's dry, or you can mix the modelling paste in with some paint before applying it so that you've got the colour already in it. And it can take a little while to dry, so I'm going to be careful with it, but that's why I wanted to get these kind of down first and then leave this drying while I come back to start working on the other page again. I never worried about it being too perfect. I just try and smooth it off as best as I can. Okay, I'm just going to go in, clean this stencil off. So next thing I'm going to do is use some of that brown distress ink around the edge of these pages. I think it should work okay on this paper. Give it a quick go. So it'll be nice and subtle because it's already kind of a lovely brownish colour on that background anyway. But just to add to the kind of vintagey distress look of this opening page, I was just having a look at it more from a distance. I do that if I'm not sure what else I want to do. I stand up and have a look. So after I cleaned the stencil, I had a look, and I'm already quite happy with it, obviously partly because of the beautiful paper on the background. But I really don't want to overcomplicate this first page, because for me it's like that introductory cover page that you'd normally get in a journal. And in some of the future videos I want to add lots of pockets and tags, as I mentioned, and little tuck spots and really interactive pages. But I just wanted something to break myself in with this. And if you don't have pattern papers like this, I mean, digital printables are a great idea. I've bought some, I mentioned before, from Pink Monarch Prints, Artie Mays and Victoria Designs, and they're a really good way to get started, and obviously you can just print them off as many times as you want. I've got some printables in my shop or through Patreon, but anything that you've got like wrapping paper, I've used lots, is brilliant. Old napkins, I keep loads of those, tissue paper. Anything with pretty patterns, it's worth keeping, especially for projects like this where you know that you've got the background of the pages, and I want to leave quite a bit of those exposed, at least on some of the pages. But you also, we're going to want something to cover these up, and I'm going to be doing some bits with gesso as well, where I'll kind of show you how I'm going to create on top of the backgrounds without adding other pieces of paper on top. So I'll be using some white gesso for that in some of the future videos. I keep meaning I'd really wanted to do some practice pages in my other altered book, my practice one, to come up with some ideas so that before I started filming I kind of had a good idea what I'd be doing, but I just haven't had time. It's been a really busy period, so I'm hoping to do that before filming some of the other videos so that at least I feel I've got all my supplies ready and I'm a bit more confident in what kind of works well in these types of books, and perhaps then help avoid what doesn't. I'm trying to be really careful on this corner because that texture paste is still really soft. It's not dried yet. So that's my little distress around the outside. If you've used texture paste, I find that if you dry it with a heat tool, if you get it too hot, it really bubbles. So I'm probably going to leave mine to dry. I'm not even convinced I'm going to add any colour on top of that because I really like how subtle the white is of that. And it kind of ties in nicely with the white on the background of these mushrooms too. So on this page I'm going to write the little heading of intentions, and for this I'm using a Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen with a firm nib. And I was keen to set some intentions for this journal because I haven't done anything quite like this before. And I know that that makes me more apprehensive filming the process, because usually I kind of know at least a little bit of what I'm doing before I start filming. But I don't want that to put me off using it or feel that I can't try different things. So I thought writing some intentions for this journal would be a really nice way to get it started. So I'm just going to write those underneath here, and for that I'm going to be using this black Muji gel pen. So that's my intentions written out. I've put in here, try out different techniques, don't be afraid of things going wrong, have lots of fun with it, add pockets, tags and lots of interactive elements, use art journal supplies, use found elements from nature and enjoy every moment. And that's really what I want to do with this. I want to, particularly as the seasons change, because here we're moving into kind of that autumn time, and I know there'll be lots of lovely leaves around to either inspire my pages, do printing with, or glue in here. And I think it would be beautiful to document that through my journal pages in here. So really, really simple pages to get started, but I hope you've enjoyed it. And I know a few of you have commented on here and on Patreon that you're nervous about getting started too. So I hope that by starting with something nice and simple, that it'll give you a bit of confidence as well. And we've got those first pages done. So I really hope you enjoyed it. As always, a massive thank you to everybody who's joined me over on Patreon. I appreciate you so, so much. I hope you're doing really well. Do let me know how you're getting on with your own altered book. And if you're on Instagram, please tag me, and I'd love to see kind of what kind of things you're creating. Thank you ever so much for watching. I look forward to speaking with you really soon in my next video.